Well, I'd have to say, out of all the messes I've ever made working on this car, this one has got to be the worst. Welcome back to Phillips Hot Rod Garage. All right, in the last video, I made the trunk fit with the quarter panels. I got it to fit nicely. Took some paint off the bottom down here so we could see how bad a shape the skin was in. I was really hoping that it was not rusty across the bottom and full of body filler, and it's good, not a lot of rust. But we do have a nasty area right here where they took a brass rod and brazed up this trunk lock hole, and we have a dent here, and there's several other dents. We got a lot of rust under the bottom right here, but I think I can fix it. So I can go ahead and fix it. I won't have to spend any more money, but I've got a Hemi to build that's gonna be like $5,000 or $6,000 is what I'm guessing on it. So I have plenty of places that I can spend money besides spending money on a new trunk when I already have one that I can fix, and I have all the stuff to fix it with. So a lot of you guys said you would love to see me do it, and I'm gonna challenge myself and see how nice I can make it. I can always buy a new one later if it doesn't turn out good, but I'm gonna challenge myself and see if I can get this trunk in good shape. So I think I wanna save the money and spend it elsewhere. So let's get this thing off here, and I'm gonna lay this one out, and my one I got for parts, I'm gonna lay it out next to it, and we're gonna take a look at what's gotta be done and see if we can get started doing something in this video toward making this trunk be a lot nicer than it is now. So let's get started. All right, so I just wire brushed that a little bit to see how good it was across here, and it's real decent. I've got a little bit going on here that's got to be addressed, and this corner is a little rusty. Other than that, the bottom of that's pretty good. And then over here on the trunk I'm going to use, you can see that the bottom is just gone. So, of course, I'm going to cut the bottom out of this one, and I'm going to weld it into this one. And as far as other work that's got to be done, there's some rust here. They hacked it up right here to put a latch in, and I got to fix that. So I'll come over here and cut a section out of this one and put it into it. And there's got to be some repair work done right here in this area. It's a little bent right here, cracked. I can fix that pretty easy. And there's a few rust holes right here. I may not fix those. That might add character. Now, I'll probably put an interior panel in here. It'll cover all that anyway, so you won't see it. But I do have to cut this piece out and put it into here, and that's the main thing that's got to happen. And the story I'm told on this trunk is that a guy just simply cut it off to make patch panels. I was told that he needed a section out of that outer skin to make some cab corners for an old truck, so he cut it up. I find that sad, because otherwise this trunk would have been repairable and usable. So now I'm just going to use it for pieces to go into this one. All right, so I want to start by cutting this piece out of this trunk. Go ahead and get everything I need off this one. Then I'll get started cutting the other one apart. right, so that cut's made. Now it's separated from the inner panel, but what I got to do now is get it separated from the skin. There's a little spot weld here, and there's one right here on this side that I got to get loose. Hopefully when I get those two spot welds loose, that'll be all that's holding it, but I don't know. I've never pulled one of these skins off, so I don't know if anything's holding it over here or not. So I just got to figure that out the hard way. All right, so I got it loose now all the way across the bottom. It was a little bit tougher than I hoped it would be, but it did come loose fairly easily. Wish it would have been a little easier, but as you can see, this lip right here, it's a little bit rusty. So as I was trying to bend it, it was just breaking. So there's really no saving any of that lip. I should have just ground it off on the edge and it would have come loose a little easier. So that's what I'm gonna do right over here. I'm just gonna cut through the corner of it right along here and separate the whole piece, and then I'll get this piece off, whatever's holding it. It must have some welds or something because it's not coming loose real easy. I don't know, it could just be rusted to it, because down in here it seemed like that's what was holding it. Just had so much rust, it was like it was rusted together. But anyway, let me get it off of there, see how it's gonna look. All right, well, I got it. Now this piece is kind of thin. It's, you know, not really rusted out like the one is over here on the trunk I'm gonna be using, but it is pretty thin. So what I gotta do is clean this up, and hopefully once I get it cleaned up, there'll be enough metal left to actually use. I'm banking on this part working out. If this piece here doesn't work out, then I don't think I want to try to start from scratch and build one of these from flat sheet. So this piece will determine whether I keep going on this trunk or not. If this piece is good enough to save. Now, I'll tell you a little bit of interesting history on this piece and this trunk. I was told that this trunk came out of a gully, and many years ago, somebody was scrapping old cars, and apparently back in those days, I don't know what time period it would have been, maybe the 1940s or 50s, I don't know, maybe the 60s. I don't know when it was, but frames apparently were worth a lot and bodies wouldn't bring any money or something, I don't know. But I went in one of those gullies myself back when I was in college in the 1990s. I heard where one was and I stopped by there and I went down into this gully and I looked, and there was cars just stacked from the bottom of that gully up to the top of that gully. The gully was so deep that there was a school bus standing on its nose in that gully, and the back of the bus wasn't sticking over the top. And that gully was just full of cars. And there was no cars in that gully newer than, I would say, late 50s. There was a 57 Chevrolet convertible down in that gully, but there was a lot of 40s cars and a lot of early 50s cars, but nothing newer that I can recall than maybe mid-late 50s. There might have been, I think there was an Edsel in there, so that would have been late 50s on that one. So anyway, I don't understand why they scrapped the chassis without the bodies. I don't know. But anyway, the gully that this trunk came out of, I was told there was a lot of cars in there that were like Model Ts and Model As, and there were no frames, no engine, transmission, or differentials. There was all just bodies. And I know of some of those bodies that came out of that gully that people built up into some fairly decent cars, rat rod type stuff. But there are some of them that are running that came out of that gully. And this trunk came out of the gully. So that was kind of a long way around to tell you this. This has a right to be kind of thin and rusty. It laid in the bottom of a gully for most of its life. So anyway, I would say that if I can get this piece cleaned up and it's savable, then I'm going to continue on this trunk. So that's the thing to do next, get it cleaned up. All right, guys, so what I've decided to do is use some muriatic acid to strip this chemically. I don't want to sandblast it right away. I may end up having to if it won't come clean, but what I want to try to do is get all the rust off of this muriatic acid so that I don't have to try to sandblast it and possibly fill this thing full of holes. It is kind of thin, as we've already talked about, so I think chemically stripping the rust off is the safest option. So let's go ahead and get it soaked down with muriatic acid and see how quick I can get all this rust off. Whew. See it smoking, guys? I don't know if you can see that in the camera or not. It is smoking. You breathe that stuff in and that'll take your breath. All right, well, I got it soaked down good. You can already start to see right in here some nice bare metal starting to show through. It's going to take a little while, but I'm just going to keep wetting it until it comes clean. Now right here, I actually tried to sandblast a little bit to see how easy it was going to come off, and it was taking a lot of effort to get the rust off, so I decided to stop, because if I sandblast as hard as I had to blast here on all this area right here, it's going to end up full of holes. So I'm going to keep wetting it down and show you again in just a little bit how good it's looking. All right guys, so after a couple of hours of work, you can see it's coming pretty clean. That muriatic acid is doing a nice job of taking that rust off. But unfortunately, it's starting to rain on me. You can see these parts I got sitting in front of the shop here, they're starting to get wet. So I better get out of the rain. It's getting pretty late anyway, so I'll finish that up tomorrow night. Well, all right guys, well unfortunately, I was not able to finish this that next night after I was just working on it there, because it started raining the next night too, and it rained every night after that for the, I don't know, the next several days. So it's been a few days since that first part of the video was recorded, but I'm finally back on it. Got a nice sunny day now that I can get out here and work on it. So trying to get this finished up so in the next video we can get started making the necessary repairs to this panel, so we can start figuring out how to get it installed into that the trunk. So let me bring you in here and show you how good this looks now that it's all cleaned up. All right, so as you can see, it's nice and clean. That's exactly what I was trying to accomplish. It looks super good. Now I got to rebuild the corner on the other side. As you can see right here, it's rusted away. But fortunately, we have the other side that's good to use for a pattern. We'll just make an opposite side of that and weld it in, and that'll get this piece in good shape. But unfortunately, now I've got to do the other side. I'm not going to bore you guys with what's going on this side. It's just going to be the same as the other side. It's a nice sunny afternoon. I got plenty of time to get it done. So I'm just going to stick with this until it's finished, and I'll show you guys on the next one what it looks like. I've also got some videos coming up on the Model A Roadster and the Model A two-door sedan that I just bought. Going to show you guys what my plan is for those. They are pretty rough, but they do have a lot of potential. So I'm going to show you what my plan is for those cars in an upcoming video. So for now, I'm going to stick with this until I get it done. It's going to look good. In the next video, we're going to be welding on this corner. Going to rebuild this corner, get this piece ready to go into that trunk. Appreciate you guys watching. Thanks for subscribing and sharing and liking the video. I do appreciate it. See you guys in the next one. All right, so now that most people have turned the video off, because that always happens, I get down to the end of the video and I say, see you guys in the next one. And then I have other footage that I'm showing and different things I'm showing, but most folks have already turned it off. So this part is for all of you who stay all the way to the end of the video. I think what I'm gonna start doing is at the end of each video, I think I'm gonna start showing the really, really cool stuff to only my biggest fans. Because the ones of you who hang around all the way to the end, you're my best fans, you're my best subscribers. So in this video, the bonus segment at the end, I'm gonna talk to you about this little flathead that I just bought. I picked up this flathead when I picked up the two Model A's that I just bought. And what we're gonna do with this flathead, we're gonna build a run stand for this thing. I'm gonna put this thing on the run stand and see if we can get it to run. I've already had the heads off. I've already looked in here. It's clean, looks good on the inside. It does have a little rust starting in the cylinders that I got to get cleaned up. It's not too bad, but under the intake it's real clean. And it is a 40 model flathead. It has been rebuilt. It's got a rebuild tag on it. I don't know how long it's been since it's been rebuilt. The crank's been turned 10-10. The cylinders are standard, and I verified that. It does have standard pistons, and it barely has any kind of a ring groove in it at all. So I'm really excited about this flathead. I think I'm going to be able to get this thing running. I've got carburetors. I'm waiting on a buddy of mine to see if he's got a distributor. I do need a distributor for it. I need a fuel pump set up for it. I have the exhaust manifolds for both sides. It's got a new clutch on it that somebody put on there sometime in the past. The water pumps are locked up, so I got to get that taken care of. But the engine is not stuck. It is free. The heads are off because the guy that I bought it from, he said that he bought this engine, and before he bought it, he wanted to pull the heads to check for cracks, and there are no cracks. There are none. It's not all rusted up. It does have a little rust starting in the cylinders, like I said, but it's pretty good shape. No cracks anywhere in it from what we can see. So I'm gonna get some gaskets for it. I'm gonna get some spark plugs, plug wires, distributor, fuel pump, build a run stand for this thing, see if we can get it running. So that's coming up on the channel, and only you guys who hung out to the end know what my plan is gonna be. So watch to the end of the video every week, because you never know, I might be sharing something cool with you. We're gonna get this old flathead running. We're gonna rev it up a little bit. We're gonna watch her smoke. We're gonna have a good time with it. Appreciate you guys. See you guys in the next one.